sister-in-law is so jealous that I am marrying her brother that she wore a wedding dress at my wedding, so I gave her a shower of soup as revenge. My SEL has always acted cold toward me, but I never thought her jealous behavior would ever go this far. I started dating my husband 5 years ago, and we've been engaged for about a year and a half now. I get along with everyone in my husband's family, except for his younger sister, Alyssa, who is currently 20 years old. The rest of his family was always welcoming and polite to me, but every time I saw her, she gave me dirty looks and talked to whoever was around me instead of talking straight to me. She has such an annoying habit of speaking directly to my husband while I'm beside him. This happens every time I see her, so much so that I asked my husband about Alyssa's behavior one day. He said she had always been attached to him since he was her only big brother. Look, I have siblings too, but I don't let my attachments to them lead me to disrespect their partners. Alyssa is very reliant on my husband and calls him almost every day. She gets upset if he doesn't stay on the phone with her for at least an hour. Even though it was an ongoing issue in our marriage, I just let her bullshit slide since it was the only problem in my relationship. I figured Alyssa was just young and needy and that her treatment of me and her clinginess to my husband might improve with age. I was completely wrong. The minute my husband and I got engaged, her behavior got 100% worse. When we held a dinner to announce our engagement, Alyssa burst out in tears, saying she was never gonna see her big bro again, and even claimed she doesn't deserve this shit. My husband's mom took her home after congratulating us, but the entire dinner was ruined. During wedding planning, Alyssa acted self-absorbed whenever I included her. I invited her to try on bridesmaid dresses, but she spent the whole time texting my husband and FaceTiming her friends at full volume, loudly announcing how bored she was and how she would rather be anywhere else. I got so annoyed with her worsening treatment that I stopped including her in anything until the wedding. When she wasn't invited to my bachelorette party, she called my husband sobbing, claiming I was bullying her. Hearing my husband baby his grown sister over the phone made my skin crawl. Alyssa demanded I apologize, but when my husband told me this, I laughed. I told him how sick I was of her immature bullshit and that I didn't want to hear about her until after the wedding. He seemed frustrated and spent a lot of time on the phone with her that week. I hadn't heard from Alyssa for weeks before our wedding day, which should have been a warning sign. On my wedding day, I woke up ecstatic, having no idea how painful the day would end. I was in the dressing room when Alyssa arrived, bragging about spending her last 2 paychecks on her dress to look her best for my special day. When she unzipped her dress bag, she revealed a long white gown that looked exactly like a wedding dress. Before I could react, my maid of honor started screaming at her for thinking she could wear a wedding dress to her sister-in-law's wedding. Alyssa looked at me and said, "Are you gonna let her talk to me that way?" I simply replied, "Yep," and Alyssa grabbed her dress and ran out crying. I texted my mother-in-law to get her under control, thinking that was the end of it. I was sorely mistaken. When the curtains opened for me to walk down the aisle, the first thing I saw was Alyssa, standing in the front row with her ridiculous white gown splayed out over other guests' feet. She gave me that same smug, hateful smile, knowing I had no choice but to continue the ceremony. I read my vows with tears, but they weren't tears of happiness. I felt Alyssa's eyes burning holes in my back the entire time. After we walked out to the reception, I confronted Alyssa, who laughed in my face saying, "Ooh, did I hit a nerve? I deserve to feel beautiful one last time before you take my brother away from me forever." When I told her she was embarrassing herself, she called me his old hag. I walked away to calm down and saw my husband heading towards us. I thought he was coming to comfort me, but he walked right past me and took a crying Alyssa into a tight hug. I watched as he stroked her hair, glanced at me, then looked back at her and said, "Sorry, that was it." We had a cold tomato soup called gazpacho at our wedding. Feeling numb with rage, I walked over to the huge bowl, picked it up, and tossed the entire contents over both of them. Alyssa screamed as the soup destroyed her gaudy dress. My husband yelled at me and immediately started cleaning his sister off. I turned on my heels and walked out of my own wedding. I took an Uber to a hotel and turned off my phone. Laying there on the crappy hotel bed in my wedding dress was one of the most depressing moments of my life. I knew I had made a scene, but as soon as my husband walked past me to comfort his sister, I knew our relationship was over. I'm going to reach out to my friends and a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I may have broken a record for the shortest marriage ever. As I stared at my phone, wondering what to do next, the weight of my situation finally hit me.